be going live any second. Let's have a look. Awesome. All right, cool. So let's just get this sent out. Automation Week. Right then, almost there. Lovely. Okay, that's everything pushed live. And we'll go from there. Hello everyone. Welcome to another Automation Week live stream. Once again, sadly, Richard can't be with us. He's got a lot on at the moment, but I am still here. I have more of a voice than I had yesterday, which is good, but I don't know how much of a voice I'll have by the end of this stream, especially as I have a watch party to run later, so it's a lot of talking today. Fortunately, I have a nice throat sweet, which is making my throat feel much better. But yes, we shall see how it gets on. So, as I am on my own, please do say hello in the chat and just join in and give me some advice or any pointers or any questions as we go through this. Because last night's one was a little lonely, I'm not going to lie. But then it is pipeline stuff. It's not all the fun, exciting things like the unit checking stuff that we're going to be doing today. So yes, today's stream we're going to be looking at the JavaScript challenges. So we've got 3 challenges that we're going to look at. We have the load the footer component. Oh, well, actually, let's take a step back. So, for those of you who are kind of new to this, Automation Week is a week-long event that we're running at Ministry of Testing, where we have lots of workshops, conferences, talks, experience reports, all sorts of stuff going on this week around automation and just getting people talking about it and people trying it out and experimenting with whatever. And as part of this, we have a bunch of challenges, of which we have some JavaScript ones that we are going to run against this application, RESTful Booker platform that I built a while back now. Yes, so it's a little cheaty because, yes, these are our challenges, and yes, this is my application, so I already have some experience, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as an opportunity to try something new. Because one of the things with automation, it's not just about, sometimes we get a bit settled in to the tools that we use and we're just quite comfortable with them and we don't really experiment or get ourselves tool aware, as Richard and I like to talk about. We want to explore other types of tools and stuff. So we're going to have a little look at the React testing library. Now, Richard and I did a live stream about this nearly a year ago now, it feels. So I have some experience of this, but to be honest, I've forgotten most of it. I know I have an example in the code base that I can sort of relate to. But yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to try and do the automation challenges in here, but we're going to do them using React.js library rather than what I've used in the past, which is Enzyme, I think, and with the support of Jest. Cool. So, our 3 challenges: load the footer component and assert that the copyright date is 2020. Load the hotel intermediates, load the hotel info component, click book this room. and assert that the room booking form is components displayed. So let's have a look at these actually in real life. Oops. Let's do AW1. So for here, the first one is we're looking at this section down here. The next one is if we click this book this room, it will show this bit underneath here. And then the third challenge is load the login component, complete the login form, and assert that the correct request was sent to the auth API. So that's, if we go into the admin panel here, that's, if I do this and click login, it sends the right request out to the auth API. So those are our three things we're going to look at. I have no idea how quickly we'll get through these. Yeah, let's just see how we get on. Right, so let's start with this beginner one and get ourselves established. So I believe, let's close a lot of this down. This is all from last night. I believe I actually do have React test library installed. Although it doesn't, there we go, testing live. Oh no, that's, okay, so let's assume we don't have, oh no we do, here we go, testing library / React. That exists. Let's see if we can make that a bit bigger. Can we make that a bit bigger? Ooh, that makes everything go very bigger. Yes, we don't really care about that. Cool, so 10.4.5, but I assume it's probably been a while since I've used this, and it's, yeah, 11.1.0. So let's start by just giving that a bump to 11.1.0. So we've got the latest version running. And then I am going to head over to the, let's just make sure we don't have anything else running right now. Let's go back to trunk so we don't end up breaking that stuff that I was doing before. Okay, so we're going to go to CD assets.js. So this is where our JavaScript is. So you may not be super familiar with React, so I'm just going to give a very quick crash course. The idea basically with React is so React was built by Facebook, and it is a library that allows us to use JavaScript to actually sort of reconfigure or build the page. So depending on what action you do within your web page or whatever URL it is, it will determine what components are loaded. So components exist within this source folder here, components. And as we can see, like there's a bunch of these different components that relate to different parts of the web page. Let's see if I can get this to stay. Can I get this to stay up front now? Yeah, so one of the cool things about this is one of the things that sort of I think React sort of speaks a lot to front-end devs is the fact that it is highly testable. You know, we can create components and we can test them independently before, you know, combining them together for more maybe visual basis checks. So we're going to do this. This JavaScript project here is where all of these components exist. So we're going to load up this one, this footer component here. I'm using an older approach, an older style or older approach to building components, but really all that we need to worry about at the moment is that we have this function here, this render function, and that's basically returning a blob of HTML. So what we want to do is we want to be able to create a very small DOM. So we're not gonna load this into a browser. We're going to create a DOM headlessly, and then we're going to inject this component into the DOM and get it to trigger this function, get it to render and return this code here. We want it to output is probably a nicer word. We want it to output this HTML. So that's what we're going to do. Right, first things first, we need to do npm, I think install, just to make sure that I've got the latest version of React Test Library installed. And while that's running, let's have a quick little peek at the documentation. So one thing I remember last time is that React Testing Library has really, really good documentation and some nice examples. So this is a good example actually of a component in React and actually how they're like I say, I'm using an older approach, an older style of using React. I've yet to have the time to update it all. This is more of a modern, like updated version of how to create components in React. So this is a React component, and then this is actually the code, the test code that will load the component in and do its magic. So yeah, we're gonna do something similar to this. I really like the fact that not only have you got an example, but it's been commented in detail as well. It's like so important to do that sometimes. I know people feel funny about code comments within their own frameworks, but actually, you know, in your examples, in your readmes, it's really useful. So yes, let's see how we're getting on here. Yep, that's good. Lots of vulnerabilities. I have not updated my project in a while. I should do that soon. Okay, so let's get a test running. I'm going to zoom this out a little bit just because it's too much for me. So tests. So we don't have a footer test in here. So first things first. So I'm using Jest. Jest is my runner. That's going to run my checks for me. It also has some other features like snapshot testing, which is really cool, which we'll maybe explore a little bit later. So let's call this footer test.js. And then there's no shame in cheating sometimes. And I just by chance opened the other React one. Okay, so let's start this. So this is creating our test, and we're going to say test check footer renders correct details. And I am going to go into here, and I'm going to go Jest watch, and then I am going to point to the specific test that I've created. So I'm hoping what this will do is this will run just that file instead of all of my tests. Yep, and it's in watch mode as well. So that means anytime I make any changes to this check, it will run this again. So let's try and be a little bit fancy. Move this to the right half of the screen, and then let's move that to the left half of the screen. And we'll zoom this out a bit so we can see that. Okay, cool. So as I make changes, so do console log hello. Save that. Notice how on the right hand side it automatically runs for me. See the console log there as well. I can make this a bit bigger though. Alright, so we are going to pull in the component that we're interested in running our checks against. So let's have a look. Let's see how we do things here. So we need to import the library. So these imports are something you'd normally configure Jest to import for you. That is true. I just never got around to doing it. So that imports the library. Then I need to import React, which makes sense because we're going to actually add React into our test as well. That's what's going to be responsible for handling the component that I'm interested in. And then let's get these two bits here. So we're importing some libraries from from the React testing library. We'll look at that a little bit later. And then this hidden message, we're going to change this to the footer. So let's call it footer component. And from So where are ours? Ours are in source/js/footer. Nope, components/footer. Do I need to add the JSX? I don't think so. Okay, so let's see that running. Yep, that's all passing. So I've not misimported anything there. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is I need to render my component. So let's do that. Let's go for render footer component. And let's see what happens there. Oops. Oh, I should have done that. Let's quit that. Trying to be fancy, but excellent. Cool. That's running. Oh, warning. Functions are not valid as a React child. This may happen if you return. Oh, let's zoom out a little bit. What's this trying to say? If you return a component instead of brackets component, or maybe you meant to call this function rather than return it. Okay. I don't know what that means, if I'm totally honest. So I'm going to be very naughty and leave that for a minute. But what I am going to do is I'm going to look at what's in the example here. So the challenge was to say that the copyright date is 2020. So I can see here that we've got this to be in the document is an assertion that comes from jest DOM. Otherwise, you could use to be defined. Expect screen GetByText text message to be in the document. So what's this screen? Where does this come from? I assume that render is doing something where it's like passing this to screen, and then from screen I can do something with it. Let's see what happens. So let's again go for a bit of copy and paste in here. We'll do screen GetByText, but our text should be 2020, and let's see what happens. See if this passes. Okay. Unable to find an element with the text 2020. This could be because the text is broken up by multiple elements. In this case, you can provide a function for your text matcher to make your matcher more flexible. I don't think we need to worry about that too much because it's not a super sophisticated thing, but we should probably have a look at the footer text. Let's see if I can get this to wrap the text as well. Where's wrapping in editor layout? How do we wrap text? Oh, let's just leave that. Okay. So that's because when I changed this, I didn't do 2020, I did 2019 to 20. So let's go back here. Let's change it to that and run this, see what happens. Still doesn't get the text, GetByText. Okay, so I think my assertion is not quite right, and I think I'm probably misunderstanding how the GetByText works. I think what I'm going to do actually is maybe do this as a snapshot instead. And let's see what we can do. Can we? Nope, nothing here about snapshots. Docs. Let's get to the docs. Let's read the docs. That's always an important thing to do. React testing 9 examples. Introduction. Oh, it's React Native. No, we're not interested in that. We're in. There we go. API. Cool. Okay, so what can I see here? So we can see the render that's responsible for creating the component. So that's good. Render result. Get by const. Text. Re-render, unmount as fragment, cleanup act. Queries, maybe this is what I'm looking for. Here we go, right, find by. Find by text. Find by text. Here we go. By text. Get by text. That's confusing. Oh, okay, so these are just alternatives for that. Oh, that's nice. So you can actually sort of write it however you want and then go from there. Okay. So, okay, so it's not finding. Oh, I know why. And that's why there was that error. Okay. So with React, so my brain did a massive leap there, but what I realized is that when rendering a React component, you do it in a sort of almost like an HTML, XHTML sort of style thing. So yeah, that was why I was getting that error earlier that I ignored, which shows me, it serves me right. That's what happens when you ignore, when you ignore a an error message. Can you run that again, please? Just do that. So I hadn't wrapped it in the correct brackets. Okay, so that's good. So we've got somewhere because it's actually now building building the component, but it's still saying it can't find GetByText. So what am I doing wrong? I'm doing something wrong. GetByText. By title. So this feels like I'm trying to get the element rather than actually sort of reading the text. I think I'm going to change this slightly. And I'm just going to pinch here, because one thing I actually quite like is I quite like using the snapshot testing in Jest. So what this will do is this will actually take the HTML output from the footer component. So if I just did screen, what's going to happen here? Will that output the HTML? No, it won't. Okay, so screen dot. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get the render, like the rendered component, the HTML, and I want to throw it into this ExpectMatch Snapshot. And what it will do is it will write the HTML to a page, to a file, and then it can just do a comparison each time. So it's a bit more expansive than just checking the copyright date. But actually this will be useful for me because I keep getting caught out by version numbers and stuff. So I'm drifting a bit from the challenge, but I think that they'll help. But the question is how do I do a snapshot matching? So let's do React testing library snapshot. Taking a snapshot after fire event. Expect as fragment. That looks like that might help us. So let's try that, see what happens. And as fragment is not defined, but that's probably because I don't have it up here. Let's remove screen since I'm not using that at the moment. No, that did not work. As fragment is not a function. So what am I doing wrong here? Let's switch over to Google. It tends to be a bit easier. Okay, so maybe I go back to the snapshot. Oh, container equals. So if I do const container equals that, can I just check the container? Does that? Oh, let's remove that as fragment from there. See what happens here. Hey, that looks better. Yes, cool. So, although I'll do dot base element from there. So I can see here that this is giving me an object, and I can call this key, and that'll give me the base element. Let's do container dot base element. Run that. Expect this to fail because it's saying I'm trying to compare this HTML against an empty file, so I can just say update that. So I press U and away I go. So my assertion is a bit broader. So if you can see in the snapshot folder here, you can see the output of the HTML. Go away. You can see the output of the HTML here. So this is what was rendered from the footer component. So that drops that in that snapshot file, and now I can do a compare. So say, for example, let's say, so we've got this running. Let's see if I change this to 2021. Notice how the tests run again. Brilliant. It's failed because it's going, hang on, there's a difference between these two now. You can see that so it was 19 to 20, but now it's 19 to 21. So this is really helpful in terms of just giving me sort of feedback on general changes to this component. As I said before, like I have to bump the version number at the moment here because again I haven't programmatically solved this, just that sheer laziness, which is atrocious. But it'll be handy if I need to bump this version number, and it could be a case of, well, why has this passed? It shouldn't have passed when I was doing a version thing. Oh, I forgot to bump the version number. Cool, right, so that's footer test. I am going to say that first challenge is a tick. Right, now we're going to load the hotel room info component and click book this room. So we're going to do something a bit more involved this time. We're actually going to, is it not find by text instead of get by text? So looking at this hue, I think they're basically aliases for ByText. So GetByText is the same as find by text, because it wasn't throwing an error saying I don't know what the function is. It was saying I can't find what you're looking for. So I am kind of going with the assumption here that these are all aliases for ultimately what is ByText. But we are going to have to find a button in this next one. So this should be fun because we could probably use ByText for that. So for this one, excuse me, we are going to load the hotel room info component, click the button, see what happens. So room booking form test. Okay, we don't actually have one for this. Perfect. Right. So ignoring these tests here, let's add a new test in here. So again, I need to put in testing library. What I'm going to do actually is I'm going to drop this into Jest setup here. So Jest setup is kind of like a global manager of stuff for me. So let's take that out. Oops. And let's take that out. Oops. Again, okay, too keen with this. Let's see what happens here. Okay, it doesn't like that. So let's put that back. Expect is not defined. Is that because I've done? Oh, okay, yeah. Let's just leave that because I'm breaking all sorts of stuff. Is that going to help it again? There we go. It's passing again. Right. Okay. So I will obviously have to look into how I manage importing the Jest DOM stuff in there. I'm going to need that, the render. Actually, I think this requires a new file. So one thing I do like to do with the way that I arrange my tests is I'll have one for each component. So I think that this is probably the right place to go. Here you go, booking info for room renders when button is selected. So this is what I've used before in the past. There's too much noise here. I don't like this. So let's just have RBP or actually React testing library example test.js, and let's kill this and let's change the tests that we're going to react. So RTL example tests. Cool. So it's going to run. Nothing's going to happen because there's nothing in there. I'm going to copy this all in just for now, but let's remove the footer component and let's remove these bits, and this is going to be check booking form appears when clicking book. Right, so cool little trick here that's really useful, but I can't remember if I've got it actually installed. Let's just open a Chrome tab, and AW1. Okay, so I have React Devtools installed as an extension, which is really useful because I can actually see the structure of the page as it is using the various React components. So we can see, like, if we scroll up here, we can see home logo, and that highlights there because that's a component in its own right. Homeroom info, that's the component we want. So homeroom info, because this is the thing we're going to be interacting with. Homeroom info, when I hover over that, that selects that. Cool thing, just a fun thing, is that you can actually modify the state with these things. So if I click that, it does the same thing as if I would have clicked the book button. But yeah, hotel room info, that's what we want. That's the component we need. So let's import that. Hotel room info component from dot source JS components hotel room info. Okay, so we're going to render this, and hotel room info component, and I'm just going to go back to this, just check on this component, because it may be that actually it requires some additional details, but let's see what happens. So hotel room info, this dot toggle booking, no, I don't. It does require some props. Room ID and room price. So let's go back to our Chrome thing. So we can see that the sort of parent component for hotel room info is home. I hover over that. I can see that it goes all sorts of crazy wild. I'm going to go back to the home component and see. So if I do a search here and go room info, I can see that it's being sent room details. So what are the room details? Where do they come from? They come from this API call here, I think. Res rooms. Room equals room details. Where is room details? This.state.rooms. Yep. Okay, so this is doing a request to get, so this fetch here is getting all of the rooms, the IDs of the rooms, I think, all the details of the rooms from the room API. So I can go back here. Let's go back to AW1. So I want to know how that API call's running. So I think I can just do room. See what happens. Nice one. So I need to provide this as part of to my component, because this is stuff I think that needs to sit inside the home component. Actually, we can check this as well, because if we go back here, yeah, we can see here rooms accessible true. Yeah, so we can see all the details are here. So I basically I need to provide this this object. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to go back into my example test, and I'm going to say const equals room details equals this. Okay. Right. So what am I talking about here? I'm going to provide this object as a property for this component, because it needs that information to render successfully. So it takes it as, let's close this down. So we go back to that hotel room info one. You can see it says this dot props dot room. No, that's not right. Let's go back to that home one. So what did it say here? Hotel room info, room equals room details. Cool. So we can do the same here. Room equals room details. So notice like when I'm using this render actually, and that stuff's happening, it's very similar to what we're actually seeing happen here within our React component, which is quite cool. I think the fact that there's like, you're calling it and loading it up in the very same way, I think is very helpful. Okay, so I'm getting errors. Why am I getting errors? Oh, it's because I've got the, let's update that. It's moaning at me. Okay. Cannot read map of undefined. So room hotel room info is trying to map something. Features map this dot props dot room dot features. Now that's confusing. Unless this dot prop dot room dot features. Oh, it's because right. So I don't need to send it. I shouldn't send an array. I should send just one room, because yes, of course, yeah. So for each room that is found from that API call, we create one hotel room info component. So let's do that. See if that's a bit happier with me. Oh, yes, one passed. Oh, crikey, it's 22. Let's see if we can get this one done. Excellent, cool. So we have our component. It's rendering correctly. Let's click the button. So let's go back and look at the example, because I seem to remember they showed an example of clicking text, and we can do this from the simple one as well. So let's have a look. Fire event, click, screen, get label by text. Okay, cool. So let's drop that in. Let's add fire event and screen into our imports. Lovely. And we don't need to do a regex because it should just say book. That's all we're looking for. So if we go back here. Oh, book this room. One day you'll remember how your application works, Mark. Lovely. Yep, cool. So, unable to find a label with the text of book this room. Now, book this room. Because I'm saying get by label text. I don't want label text. I just want get by text. I assume. Get by text. Run again. Hey, cool. So we get some errors here because it's trying to send some API requests out, but it can't, like, it's saying there's an error because I'm trying to call this room and I'm not getting any information, which is fine. That's not a problem. Okay, so going back to this whole idea here of the adding this to, so let's see if I can go container equals and then do the snapshot again. Where's my test gone? Okay, expect container base element to match snapshot. Let's quit this because it passed. Let's give this a run. Okay, so that's passed, but just because that passed doesn't necessarily mean it's written a snapshot that we actually want. So we notice here it's just added this new file. Let's have a look what's inside here. Yeah, I can see the calendar. So this is all the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Cool. So we click the button and it has rendered the the room booking component successfully. Hooray! Lovely. So that's cool. I don't know why that's a lowercase s. That should be a capital S. That's annoying, but I will fix that at another point. Brilliant. So that's challenge number 2 done. With a load the hotel room, click book this room and assert that the room booking form component is displayed. So I think the tricky one with that one is your state management and getting that all set up correctly rather than that. Is it not find by text inside I get by text? Let's just check. Let's change this to find by text just to see if that breaks anything. So it is. Is that because... okay, so it is. That failed. So yeah, I don't know what this distinguishing factor is why it's get by text versus find by text, or maybe some old documentation. I'm not quite sure. Right, we have 15 minutes. My voice hasn't completely given the goat, which is exciting. Let's see if we can do the advanced one. So with this one, we're going to have to use some mocking as well as other bits and pieces. So let's make a start with this one. Let's do this in here. So test check. The login sends a correct request to login. Okay, so we need to add in our login component. So let's say render, we'll call it login component. And I need to add this in, so let's go import login component from Oops, source. Oh, come on, Mark. The pressure, the time pressure now. Login. Okay, does that render? Does that run? Import. Just run that again. Okay, cool. So that's correct. So we need to fire some events. We need to fill in. So how do we send keys? Let's have a look. Let's have a look. See if we can send some keys. So we have firing events. Here we go. Fire event. Change. So, okay, so we have to run a change event. Okay, cool. So, change, get element label by text, get by label text. So can I do that and then say, what's the label text for this? Let's close this browser now. Don't want my laptop flying off to the moon. These browsers open. Okay, so let's log out. Oh, I forgot. Logout is broken. Well, it's fixed, but it's just not. The fix has not been deployed to this. Okay, we don't have label text, so what are we going to do about this? Input. Right, so we need to find via a different way. Helpers. No, not helpers. Queries. Find by title. Find by text. Find by role. Did I put a placeholder in for these elements? Let's have a look. Yes, I did. Placeholder. Cool. So we can find via placeholder by placeholder text. So get by placeholder text, and we can say username. Yep. Username. And then I need to set what I'm actually going to put in there. Firing event, target value. Target value admin. Let's see if that, does that at least change. Get by placeholder text is not defined. Oh, because maybe I need to do const equals that. Is that correct? Oh, it's no. Too quick. Too quick. Let's give this a run. Okay. So it's not throwing up any more issues. So password, and I think it's password. Is it password or password 123? I can't remember. Let's practice. Admin. Again, you'd think I should. No, it's not. Oh, is it password? Yeah, it is password. Cool. Okay, and then we just need to click the button. So we're going to fire event, click event. We're going to call the login. Right, let's run that. Perfect. Okay, so that's good. So these error messages are basically saying oi, something's being like, basically my component is doing stuff after the test is finished, after the check is finished, and that's messy. We don't really want that. Now, that is just down to my poor design of my code base, so there's not a lot I can do about that right now. But what this tells me is that it's trying to send the request to auth login, which is very good. That's what we wanted. Now we just need to create a mock to intercept that that request to make sure that the correct information is sent. So I've actually used this. I used a tool called Knock. I've used it elsewhere, so I'm going to just have a little look, see where else I can find it from. Let's look in the tests. Message test. Cool. Okay. So these are not. I'm not actually doing anything with these ones. So let's have a look. We want one that says expect knock. Yes, here we go. So knock, expect knock, accept request to be true. So this is what we're going to go for. This is going to be our assertion. It's going to be did knock accept the request. So we actually have to now set up knock to receive, to basically intercept that login request for us. So let's do that by finding knock. Oh, hang on. No, this should be is done. So the put mock, but let's change this to post mock because it's a post. So let const post knock post mock equals, and then I say we're going to cheat a little bit and just copy some bits from here. But let's tweak this because this is for a room and we don't care about that. We want to say that we get a post back to auth login, and let's start by doing that. Let's just and then get it to reply with a 200. So let's run that, see what happens. Oh, knock is not defined. Good start. Good start. We need to import knock. Okay. So it said. Okay, cool. So it's not matching. So it's saying, oh, bang on, what? Fetch error, request to knock, no request match for auth/login with those details. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. This is nice. Oh, and could be because that weird stray 200. Let's see what happens. So I seem to remember having issues with this before, but let's just finish up the expectation part of this. So we want it to come back. Where's the bit I deleted? Where did that 200 come from then? Oh, that's me being a silly sod. 200. Okay, so let's say it should return something that says username admin. Oops, what? I did not ask you to do that. Password is, oops, again, quotes, password 123. Okay. Sometimes just a bit too quick for this, for jest. Okay, cool. So it's not throwing a hissy fit about receiving the wrong mock, but this is something I've noticed before is when using this sort of approach is that it's almost a race condition. So it's basically it's trying to check that the mock is done but the test fails before it's ready. But that doesn't seem to appear to work either. So even if I wait like a second and a half, there you go, it's passed. Yeah, so this is one of the things I still, like, personally, I haven't managed to get my head around, or like do this in a way that's like a little bit more graceful, because setting an explicit timeout is horrendous. I know, I think I did in the past down here, I did a set immediate, which is a function from Jest, I believe, or it's something that actually just exists within Node. But yeah, so that's something that we need to be polished. How did I do this before? So I've done this one before, I think, with a login. Yeah, so I use set immediate there as well. So not the best thing there. You know, we would probably want to have something a bit more graceful that sort of says, you know, maybe an implicit, I think it's an implicit way, I can never remember which way around, but basically keep polling for a certain amount of time until it's done and then drop out, or if it doesn't reach that point, then fail. But for now, I've just sort of set a timeout for a second and a half. But I'm going to say that was a success. And let's test that out and make sure that it does fail correctly by removing the password details. Let's give that a run again, see what happens. Yep, it fails because it's going, yep, so because knock is saying there's no match. So maybe I'd want to improve this expectation as well to be a bit more verbose and a bit clearer in terms of what's actually happened, because I do have to look at the code. But there we go, cool. Nice one. So there we are. All 3 challenges achieved in an hour. I think what this demonstrates is it helps if you've built the application. ByText, yeah. Yeah, so it does help to have knowledge of React and how this stuff works. And that's kind of my experience, is how I sort of became familiar with these sort of tools, is just by actually pairing with developers and seeing how they work with JavaScript and just observing that process. Once I understood that React is made up of multiple components, then the potential to sort of check each component separately appeared, and we kind of went from there. So yeah, that's it for this stream. As I say, please do take part, get involved. How would you do this as well? So I've done this with React Testing Library, but there are other tools out there that can do the job as well. And it would be cool to see how you get on. So please give this a go, and if you want, see how you get on. See if you can do like maybe just the beginner session, and then submit it to our AutomationWeek experience reports. We'll pay £100 to come on the stage and the virtual stage, but come and share your experiences of working with those tools. How did you get on? What was hard? What wasn't? And just helps people learn more about using these different approaches and these techniques. I think we're back tomorrow, and we are going to be looking at test data, and we're going to be looking at specifically some of the challenges here. But we're actually going to hopefully look at data builder patterns and how we can maybe use those, and that will be 4 till 5 tomorrow. Also, wildcard, we have one last session that we were going to do Wednesday evening before the big test.bash event on Thursday, we'd be really keen to hear what people think we should go for our final challenge. Maybe pick one off the list that we haven't done, or maybe just come up with your own challenge and just drop it on us, and we'll see how we can muddle through. But yeah, it'd be cool to hear about that. I will drop both last night's video and this video into the club chat as well. Yeah, if you've enjoyed this, we're thinking maybe we'll do some more of these streams after Automation Week, just because they're good fun, and see what people think in terms of challenges that we could do and stuff. So please subscribe, hit the bell, do all the typical YouTube jazz that you have to do, and follow us. Other than that, that's it for this session. Thank you, Hugh, for your help. I must admit I was so focused on the code I didn't really look at the chat that much. But that's what happens when there's only one person running the stream. Cool. Well, I'm going to call it there. It was good fun. I'll hopefully see you all tomorrow at 4 o'clock our time. See you later. Bye.